Hello, homies, and welcome to Q&A Friday with me and Sarah Valentini. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Eugénie. So good to see you
Oh,
again.
always good to see you. I love getting
Mhm.
my Sarah fix.
Yes. We're both, although we seem to get that almost every day with each other, but
Well, we literally do. I need to go through our messages and see if there's a day, like in the past few months, that we haven't messaged each other at some
yes.
stage, which is it's beautiful. It's lovely to have that connection.
Yes.
We've had some interesting questions, and you were just reading a few of them, and like it's never a quick answer, but maybe which one do you want to start with?
Well, you mentioned about starting with the Hyperemesis gravidarum uh, question.
I'm
So
keen for that one.
let's
I'm keen
do
for that
it.
one.
Yeah,
Also
let's
known as HG. We'll talk about it as HG. Do you maybe want to start with that one?
yes. So this is something I know about because I suffer HG when I'm pregnant, and it's much more complex than just not, morning sickness. Even though morning sickness, we know it can be unpleasant, but hyperemesis gravidarum is much more complex. And it's not just about the liver. It actually does involve hypersensitivity or allergic response to other aspects of growing a baby. And so it's something, when I was pregnant and I had people saying, "Oh, you need to eat more protein," and or you should just have ginger. And it was like, I don't think you understand that everything that I eat, I vomit up. So there's a challenge, right? This is where homeopathy can be wonderful, can be really helpful. But also in my experience, it's something that you have to move through with remedies. I don't feel like it's can be one remedy. I feel like it's like this remedy will work for a while and then you have to, have a good practitioner on hand and change to another remedy. That's been my experience and my experience with clients too.
It's interesting you say it's not just liver because that's always been my thought process is that people who are more susceptible to it probably have liver congestion issues before they become pregnant because obviously once you're then pregnant the load on the liver it just is exponential. It's got so many more hormones and things that it needs to process. Your body makes something like it's like 60% more blood. There's just so much more pressure on the liver, on everything, but especially the liver. And so when you are already on the back foot with the liver, then become pregnant, it's just a little bit too much for people to handle. I'm going to say right up front that with my HG clients, I've had a few. I've never been able to cure it, but we have managed to get it to a point where in previous pregnancies, they've pretty much lived on Maxilon and Odanzatron. But since seeing me, they've managed to completely eliminate that. And even though they might still feel a little bit seedy, they're not vomiting all day. So I've never been able to completely cure it where there's a history of HG and suddenly there's nothing, but we've managed to make it tolerable for them, which is really great. And I think often if I'm excited because I've got a new client starting today that's got a history of HG, and it's going to be interesting to see the work that we can do now before she goes down that avenue again. And it'll be interesting to see what the subsequent pregnancies will be like if we've got some time to work on clearing things before the next pregnancy. But it's
Mm.
interesting you said the sensitivity. So you feel like potentially like genetically there might be
Mhm.
like a
Yeah.
sensitivity anyway.
Yeah, and it's like a hypersensitivity to the human chorionic gonadotropin, which is the HCG, which
HCG.
is produced by the placenta, and you're just bathing in it for especially up until I don't know if it's like 26, 27 weeks. There's it peaks at like 10 weeks, and so 10 weeks can be the worst, but when you're so hypersensitive, and hypersensitive is like another word for allergy type response.
Mm.
So when you're so hypersensitive, this can continue until that HCG isn't so strongly in the system, or perhaps you can develop a tolerance, although most people don't, I have to say. It's something that you have in most of the pregnancies because it's there. And one of the remedies that I've used is
I
HCG in
was
home.
about to ask you. Great.
Yeah, and I think it's something that, you can consider like going quite high, perhaps even histaminum as well, just because it is an allergic type response. And it's not presenting as an allergy, but, you're just feeling incredibly unwell, weakened, But I also want to say I completely agree with what you said, like about when you've treated people with it, you know, you're getting people through so that they don't have to rely on these other medications. But it's definitely worth pursuing homeopathy
Mm.
for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, now I'm just thinking HCG and potency, that sounds amazing. But then because the placenta produces HCG, I wonder if you could even do like placenta and potency, HCG and potency. Something
Yeah.
that I kind of stumbled on by accident, and I can't even remember how I did this, but cortisol in low potency for morning sickness. This is more specifically morning sickness. I haven't used it with HCG, but cortisol in low potency. And I wish I could remember how I thought to try that, but I gave it to this client and it just was like an instantaneous relief for her, which does make
Wow.
sense. I guess if you're feeling that horrible all the time, it's going to increase your cortisol. And so
Yes.
maybe,
Well, this, you know, wow, that's awesome, I think, because you and if you've had subsequent, you know, pregnancies before and you know what you're going into, like it's like a trauma response to be pregnant when you've got HG. Like it is not an easy road, and people don't understand it. They're like, you've got morning sickness. It's just like it's not morning sickness. It's like every time I move, I vomit. That's not, and that lasts for 6 months. It's not just over by week 13 or 14 kind of thing. It's the long game. And I've had my sister actually, we both get hyperemesis, and she vomited right entirely every day. You know, I vomited most days up until week 26 with my pregnancies. But every day was, you know, I'd wake overnight and I'd wake up, instant vomit, you know, just wake me from my sleep, vomit. You know, it was just, it's the long game. But the stress response is there because you're very stressed. It's hard to get help. You're growing a baby. If you've got other children like that you need to look after, I think cortisol is a brilliant idea uh, to support these mums.
and some of them might not be able to do their jobs if it's you know, if they were working and suddenly they don't have an income anymore. Just thinking
Mm,
also as homeopaths, when you're talking about the vomiting side of things, you know, we use the Myospots hydroxyapatite mouthwash. That's a really good one after you've vomited, you know, like cleaning, like remembering to clean your teeth after you've vomited so that acid's not sitting there pulling the nutrients from your teeth. So just maybe rinsing your mouth with a hydroxyapatite mouthwash.
mm,
Also, I've got a combination tissue salt called Strong Teeth Mix. I mean, you can get the Schussler ones, they do it as well, but 2 pills of
yeah.
those in your water bottle daily. Um, because there's only 2 times in your life, and I heard this actually on the Red Pill Your Healthcast podcast. Dr. Charlie had a holistic dentist on there, and she was saying you've got these kind of like micro channels in your teeth, and usually it takes from, you know, micronutrients and things from your saliva in through the teeth and into your body. But there's 2 times in your life when it reverses, and that is during pregnancy and during teenagehood. Sorry, I just said wrong way around. Usually it goes from inside the body out through the microchannels outside, but it reverses in pregnancy and in teenagehood, and it pulls things from your mouth in through these microchannels inside the teeth. And so that's why you're more susceptible to cavities during pregnancy and during when you're a teenager. So it's especially important to look after your dental health then. And there's, you know, all these sayings of, you know, you lose a tooth with every baby. And so
Mhm.
you really want to make sure that you look after your dental health at the same time as well. So you don't then have all the trauma of dental work after the HG as well.
Right, that's right. And you know, I have had a number of women as well who have had like acidity in the throat and burned, you know, damaged the mucous membranes
Mm.
in the throat from all the vomiting. So those little tips to kind of support, and rinsing your mouth is better than the idea of drinking. Like I've had many women as well who can't drink. I couldn't drink water. Water
Mm.
would just make me vomit. And I
Right.
wanted it so badly, I have to say. I wanted to drink so badly, but yeah, I couldn't drink so much. Sipping, you know, you can do sipping and maybe lemon water or things like that as well. But we have to remember not that, you know, the idea of swallowing things and
Mm.
digesting things through the stomach is
Yeah.
challenging.
I was also wondering, has remedies like lysinum ever been used Like I wonder just for that,
Mm.
well, it's not a fear of drinking water, but just, when you can't kind of, or like,
Yeah.
phosphorus or things like that. I wonder if that would help. But also
Phosphorus. Yep.
like marshmallow root, like the herb. It's not something
Mhm.
that I use, but I'm just thinking, I know marshmallow is really coating on the mucous membranes, but it's really
Yeah.
important to kind of like look at the bigger picture, right?
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
we've got homeopathic remedies. Obviously, Symphoracarpus is a remedy that's, used for quite severe morning sickness. And there's Ipecac and Nux Vomica and Tobacum and Sepia and all these other things, which a lot of
Mm.
them I've just thrown together into a combination remedy called my morning sickness mix for some clients. And it's been so helpful for
Uh-huh.
some clients, which is great. But a really cool little clinical pearl that I learned from one of Hilary Dorian's lectures was the remedy Serenum for
Uh-huh.
morning sickness when it just feels like nothing else is working. And actually, she
Wow.
used that for hay fever as well. It's like kind of one of those remedies if nothing just seems to work. And I think like the way she kind of describes is that sometimes the vital force is so weak, it can't actually respond to the remedies. So then you get a remedy like like a Serenum 30C to kind of like get in underneath it to kind of lift the vital force up a little bit so it can respond. So that's another
Fantastic. Yeah.
option.
And I think, paying for somebody to pay attention to their state, not just their symptoms, like paying attention to dreams and what's happening because it's such a tough illness that we can get in underneath with understanding the real experience of the person. And I found for myself that was a big thing because I just so badly wanted water and I couldn't drink it. And I really wanted that to be understood by my homeopath at the time. And somehow I mean, even amniotic fluid could have been a really great remedy, perhaps, for me.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
And but also probably trauma remedies. Like I'm kind of like I think we're both speaking here to like the practitioners listening as well as the clients listening, like so that they know
Sure.
that there is help and that
Yeah.
the homeopaths know that there are remedies and to think outside the box and look at the bigger picture. But trauma remedies alongside. I mean, was there
Yeah.
any other sort of, I mean, you're really good with your meditative practice and things like that. Was there anything else that particularly you found really helpful?
Lots of rest. Lots of rest, lowering the expectations, I think, is so important because, you want to keep up with life and with your kids and do all the things, but you have to really, really acknowledge that your body is going through a lot. And I do think, those trauma shock remedies, um, speaking to people, getting people around you that understand, actually, because it can be so lonely because people don't understand why, it's almost so many people I've known with HG feel kind of on the outer because people are like, oh, you've still got morning sickness. And you're worried about what you're growing in your belly and you're worried the impact on your family. And so there's a number of those kind of shock, trauma, stress remedies. I mean, the cortisol would be a really good
Mm.
remedy too. But I think having team and being able to reach out to those people is like
Mm.
super important.
I wonder if there's like Facebook support groups and things like that. But as
There
you,
are,
yeah.
but I would caution people about
Oh.
going on because I went on those groups and I found it to be really negative after a while and make me feel even more hopeless.
Mm.
So
Oh, good advice.
yeah, just making sure that you've got people that understand, but also that don't pull you down because I was reading people's stories and just going, oh my goodness, like, there's no way out kind of thing.
Mm.
So that wasn't
The other
helpful.
thing I'm thinking is maybe just making sure that you're connecting with your baby and talking to your baby and saying it's okay, you're actually safe. We're going to get through this together because for us as homeopaths, the state of your baby during your state is going to affect your baby state when we have the privilege of taking your child's case afterwards. And so making it like kind of talking to your baby and just saying it's okay, you are safe in there because they don't know what's happening. They just feel, this shock and trauma response all the time.
Mm.
Having that conversation, I think, is really important. Something else I was thinking that we should talk about is just how you can use homeopathy alongside if you do end up going down the medical route. So Ondansetron has been linked to developmental delays, and I actually didn't realize this. I had a client who had severe hyperemesis. I only saw it for the first time after she'd already had her baby and told me how bad it was, and she was using ondansetron all throughout pregnancy. And we were treating her child, and he has quite a lot of developmental delays. And then she came to me and she said she found this PubMed article saying ondansetron is linked to developmental delays. And so she said, "Is there something we can do?" So we did a ondansetron detox for the boy and the mum, and that was really helpful. But just knowing that you can actually use the homeopathic remedy made from ondansetron or maxilon alongside taking the drug. And I would say store that remedy at the same place that you store the drug. And when you take the drug, take the remedy alongside. You don't have to wait half an hour because you will forget. Just take it at the same time. It will still work, because if we make it too hard for people, they just don't do it.
Yeah.
And that we can do detoxes if your baby has already been born and you're listening to this now, and you think maybe there might be something there. The reality is all of us get exposed to stuff all the time. Not all of us are going to present symptoms, but some of us are going to be never well since. And so sometimes it's worth just doing this detox and seeing
Yeah.
if something comes up. Sometimes it doesn't. For example,
Yeah.
ultrasounds, I never thought very much of that until I interviewed Anke Zimmerman, and she was saying she has such amazing results with doing ultrasound detoxes for kids that have got uh, behavioral issues and autism and things like that. And I've started doing it, and it's, for many clients I do it, there's no difference. They don't really notice anything. But now and again, some of them are like, wow, my child's different. They're so much calmer. And if you think of like a baby in the womb, they're having this ultrasound, like they can't hide. And you look at the things, and the kids are kind of like trying to, in the womb, like trying to get away from this ultrasound that's on them. And some of
Hmm.
them have got multiples of it. So then you do ultrasound detox, and it can kind of help them with that. But veering off, just saying that if you do go down that route, we can use the remedy made from ondansetron alongside. If you're ending up in hospital on IV, there's remedies that we can use to help balance your fluids, like remedies like China might be a good one for
Mm-hmm.
loss of fluids.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important as well to know your own limit and to, to reach out for the help that you can get. So if you need to take Maxilon or ondansetron, then it's you just do what you can, because you are in survival mode.
Mm.
And you need to just take those resources. I had one client who ended up she was just taking CBD, and then actually she ended up just taking marijuana, because it was the only thing. She vomited the entire pregnancy, but it was the only thing where she could actually feel like she could eat.
I've got
And
it on my
that
list
was,
of things to talk about because I've had clients that have done that, and that's what they had to do to get through it.
uh-huh, yeah, that's right. And I think, you know, in the scheme of things, that's not the worst thing. In fact, that
100%.
stress in the body as well. Like I definitely didn't want to take any medication, and I didn't. But if I were to be pregnant again, which I'm not, I'm too old for that. But perhaps I would make that choice. I don't know, but I think we don't self-judge and don't regret, and don't just be in it and know that there's lots that you can do to support if you make those choices. It's actually really okay.
100%. I just think of all the times in my life when I've been purist about anything, and like, my kids will never watch TV. They'll never get chocolate until they're 10 and da da da. And then it happens to you, and it's like, oh, it's actually so humbling when these things happen and you think, I'll never do this, I'll never do that. And then you're in that situation. And it actually helps us to have empathy with others, right? Like when you're in that situation. And so it's very easy to say, should never use marijuana or this or that. But you know what? There's some pretty scary side effects from using the pharmaceuticals. We saw that with I can't believe it went out of my head, that medication with the thalidomide. So that was
Oh,
thalidomide. So I don't know, at least marijuana is a plant, and it's
yeah.
natural, and it's got its own thing. And do you know what and this is also, I'm so excited because Dr. Charlie has finally agreed that he'll come on my podcast. I've been harassing him for a long time from Red Pill Your Health Cast. One of his recent ones recently on hormones, he said that, we actually have cannabinoid receptors on our cells, on every single cell. So, that tells you something, right? We don't have ondansetron receptors on every cell,
Yeah.
but we do have cannabinoid receptors on every cell. So, nature knew something. So it's worth
Uh-huh.
looking at that.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
Absolutely.
Let's kind of like wrap it all because I feel like this can be a little episode in itself because we're going to be recording a few today.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything else that when we think about HG, anything else that we should be talking about?
Mm.
We've got some of the potential causes.
Yeah.
Um, Liver, this is the receptor, the HCG. I'm really glad you told me about the HCG part. I did not know that.
Mm.
We've mentioned a couple of remedies that might help. Um, we have, say, you can use things alongside the medication. We've covered the dental health. Just trying to think if there's anything else. What I would also, I just want to reiterate what you were saying before about you might have to change the remedies frequently. You need to tune like so when I have these clients, I hold them a little bit closer those first few weeks until we find a set of remedies that really help them. And you're not going to be in the frame of mind always to be able to self-prescribe. And so it's worth having that relationship with your homeopath where you can reach out to them, to say this remedy isn't working or it is working. This is where you can go high potencies frequently. Don't be afraid because it's always going to be better than using medication. So don't be alarmed if you need to use a 200 C of Symphocarpus every 5 minutes for 10 doses initially. And then every hour after that, you might only need to do that for 2 or 3 days until there's a little bit of relief. And then you can cut down to maybe once or twice a day. That's just what I would say.
Mm. Yeah, I would say that too. But you may also then after, you might find after a few hours that you need to go up to Symphoricarpus 1M
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And that's also totally okay. That's just the pace of it and certainly moving through and then maybe 10M. And then, maybe then it's a different remedy. And I totally agree also about having a practitioner that you can be that can hold you a little closer in this time as you cycle through these remedies. And because of the intensity of HG, we can use remedies frequently and we can use them constantly. And the thing about with the hypersensitivity to the HCG is that the HCG is there, it's in the body, it's being produced. It's not going to stop because you're growing the baby. And so you will need frequent remedies because you've got this maintaining cause
Mm,
that is present that needs to be there.
mm,
So yeah, frequent dosing, going up high potencies even
mm.
is not gonna, that's definitely part of the process for sure.
I would say this is the type of thing where I would play around with HCG and cortisol in like a 60 in the water bottle type thing as well, alongside
Mm-hmm.
whatever other remedies you'd
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
I feel like this has been like a little mini lecture
Yes.
thingy that, that we've just done here on HG. I'm looking forward to hearing people's responses. Do come hop into the Facebook group, the Homeopathy Hangout Podcast Facebook group, and let us know what other things you want us to chat about. And if you have any personal experiences that you want to share about HG and how and if homeopathy has helped you, please hop on there and have a little chat with us. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I think we've covered mostly, but if people put things in the chat, it is something that's good to talk about, I think, amongst others. So I think it'd be great if people chatted about it.
Amazing. Alrighty, we're wrapping this one up and we're going to record the next one, but you guys are going to have to wait till next week to hear it. See you later.